I'm Trish Toby with WARC reporting to you live from Westchester, New York, where there appears to be some sort of mutant menace on the loose.
Hello and welcome to Mutant Menace, a podcast about the X-Men. I'm Pat Reber.
And I'm Matt Ocamp.
And say it with us, Pete.
Right.
Welcome to Mutant Menace.
We already said the name of the podcast.
Oh, I thought we were doing so well, too.
Oh, man. Thanks, Pete. How are you doing, Pat?
I'm good. I'm having a pretty good day. I'm having a pretty good week. How are you doing, Matt?
I'm doing all right.
Okay.
We did a lot of reading for this episode. It might not even all make it into the episode. But we did a lot of reading for this episode.
There are a lot of stories we're going to squeeze into a single episode here, Matt, because we are in the dark era.
Yeah. How
just
have you been? Have you been holding up?
It's dark. It's a dark era.
There's just
how I would describe it.
It's weird to be in a world with no more X-Men.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, Matt. The issue numbers are still climbing up, but it's all reprints. So if you were a fan of X-Men from the beginning, you're not getting anything new here.
Yeah, they kind of like they reprint the X-Men versus the Avengers, and then but that's in their first annual, and then it's like the Juggernaut story. They reprint again, the one where the Human Torch shows up for no reason. Then the Sentinels. Then it's the Mimic. Then it's where Magneto's hiding out in their house.
Traps
like Kevin McAllister. The Lucifer one where Blob and Unus rob a bank.
Oh, yeah, that one was sick.
Then it's Dominus. Then there's a king-size special with Count Nefaria. I'll stop now, but like that's like the way it goes. They're just print, and it's not even like best of. It's just random issues.
Yeah, they include the Nefaria saga.
They include Dominus.
Look at us jumping right into it, Matt. We are so starved for real X-Men comics at this point.
I know.
And for us, it's only been a week.
Well, just to supplement, did you do anything X-Men related this week?
Did I do anything X-Men related this week? I don't know, man. I did my job. It's what the X-Men do.
The X-Men do their jobs, yeah.
I don't know why I'm being combative about it, but I don't think I thought real hard. I'm pretty sure I didn't do anything X-Men related this week.
Yeah. Me neither. You don't even have to ask. I didn't do anything X-Men related this week.
Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't ask then. Should we get right into Pat's email corner?
Yeah, let's get right into Pat's email corner. There's the theme song.
Okay, here we go. We actually have a few today. Let me start with Sam, who wants to let us know that...
Hey, Sam.
Our podcast has been excellent to listen to while I read through my omnibus collection. Everybody loves an omnibus collection. It's such fun to hear a commentary about how silly some of the early comics were. Also, I have my own mutant power. I cannot smell flatulence. While it may not be wings or laser beam related, I feel it has been a net benefit for me in life. Sure, I can believe that. Although it does come with a dangerous downside in that I also cannot smell the natural gas odor, and I feel at risk of being unaware of dangerous gas leaks. Oh well.
That's why. So it's not just like Sam can't smell their own. They can't smell anybody's.
Right. Well, here's what confuses
also,
me, Sam, and
I'm going to say this. Feel free to include your pronouns, or we're just going to assume. We're either going to assume or we're going to say they, right? So just include your pronouns if you want, and if you don't care, you don't have to. But anyway,
here's what concerns me: is flatulence, a fart, is The smell, Matt, I know you hate fart stuff, but
I hate it so
sorry,
bad.
Sam. It's a good thing you wrote into me, because if you wrote into Matt about fart stuff, he would flip out.
It's on my podcast.
The smell of a fart is a little bit of poop leaving with the air that's escaping your butt, right? That's not the smell of pure methane. That is the smell of, your butthole. Natural methane gas doesn't have an odor. It is completely odorless. The odor you smell when you open a tank of methane is chemically put in there so that you know that you're smelling gas. Sam, I'm concerned that this is not a mutant power and you just don't have a sense of smell.
because if Sam can't smell the chemical additive in methane gas, nor the fecal matter in flatulence.
Right.
That's two things we know that Sam can't smell. Unless they're related somehow.
They're not.
I don't know.
Whatever. They both contain odorless methane gas.
This is the only time I want to talk about something this gross. But I have to while we're on the subject. Pat, if you spend the day farting a lot.
Okay.
You have just microscopically ruined your pants or your seat, right? You've just high-speed projectiled a lot of stuff.
Until you wash them. They're very small part of it. It's nothing more than what sits in your nose because you probably smelled a fart at some point. I don't think I would consider that ruining a pair of pants.
But that implies that there's just microscopic shit all over everything, all the time, everywhere.
Yeah, dude.
I'm
sorry.
Do we have any other?
Thank you, Sam. Sorry to potentially debunk your mutant power, but I think it's for the best. We tell the truth here. Listener Michael also wrote in saying, "Hey Pat, tell Matt it's okay if you guys need to do a second take on the intro or rehearse it before you start recording. It's okay. I guess it's also okay if you keep not doing that, but whatever. You do you." Very interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael also throws their hat in the ring here to be co-host on our bonus episode.
Okay. Well, you're does that make Michael number 2 or number 1 on our
Matt? That makes Michael number 1 on our list.
Okay. Well, if nobody else emails in, Michael, there's not even going to be a drawing. You're the guy. And if one person emails in, there's a 50% chance you'll be the guy.
Yeah.
I could keep doing the math. If 2 people write in, a 33% chance. But
what about 3 people, Matt?
That's 4% chance.
All right. Let's stop there and move on
25% chance. What? I said 4. I meant 25. Okay. Well, is that the end of Pat's email corner?
No, Matt. Our emails are popping.
Okay.
Listener Jason
Ooh.
let us know that
hey, Jason.
He was going to write us an email asking why we'd skip the backup stories where Angel rocks a not terrible costume and all. But then they discovered that we released the... Why am I reading it like I have to recap it like it's a Mutant Menace episode?
Meanwhile...
As I just saw, you released a bonus episode covering the backup stories and the many issues you've reviewed. The purpose of this email has been totally undermined. That's all right, though, since a bonus episode is just extra sprinkles on top of a fantastic podcast.
Oh, Jason, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, if Jason's referring to, the bonus episode that went out after episode 11? Between the episodes 11 and 12 that we did with... Escape the Mojoverse. It's the origins of Beast and Angel. It's a lot of fun. Go check it out if you haven't.
Yeah, please listen. It's a fun one. Jason also has some compliments for us. I'll let you use your imagination. And then also lets us know that Holy Hannah shows up in Stargate SG-1 a few times. That's disappointing.
Because you were planning on watching Stargate SG-1 over the weekend.
More just that it's broken containment, Matt.
It's a pandemic.
And that is this week's Pat's Email Corner.
Well, thanks, Pat. That was a funny email corner. Do you want to start talking about some Marvel comics? I can't even say X-Men comics.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right, I'll do that. Do you want me to get into it?
Well, okay, let's set the scene here, Matt. It is early 1970. We have read our last issue of the X-Men. For all we know, they are not coming back except through
they're dead.
Reprints of the old stories I've already read. Yeah, for all I know, they're dead.
Yeah, they could have just died. There's some weird little pop-ups here and there between the 1970s and the first issue we're recapping, like Namor and Magneto show up in a Fantastic Four.
Yeah, sure.
Iceman appears in a Spider-Man issue.
And we didn't read it?
But where we are starting is with Hulk number 150 in 1972, January 1972. Can you believe it? The X-Men have been gone for
2 full years, just about.
Yeah, since January 1970. So 2 full years. Holy cow. So this issue is edited by Stan Lee, written by Archie Goodwin. Archie Goodwin. New name for the podcast. Artists Herb Trimpe and John Severin. Letterer Sam Rosen. Our boy Sam Rosen still kicking around. Glad he
survived he survived the purge.
This issue starts as a Hulk-ass Hulk story. He's fighting army guys in a desert, fleeing and then fighting more army guys. But all the while, he's lamenting some lost green lady named Jarella. I don't know Hulk stuff. Do you know Jarella?
I know Jarella by reputation, but no,
I've
have
never
not
read a Jarella comic.
I have read some older Hulk. I've read like Stan Lee era Hulk, but just issues here and there, and they're pretty good. This issue is not, but please continue.
I don't think this issue's that. I think the Hulk stuff is pretty bad. I don't think we'll get to it. Our X-Men story comes in when Lorna Dane drives by being chased by a gang of weird bikers who are obsessed with her green hair. Hulk confuses her for Jarella also because of the green hair and saves her from the bikers, but notices that a group he didn't touch are also unconscious and the green-haired lady is gone. With one last biker on her trail, which is fucking wild, Pat. These guys, you have a gang of bikers. They're chasing this woman when the Hulk jumps in and destroys all of them. And then a bunch of them, just like, we know Lorna Dane's powers, a wall of magnetic energy trashes another like 5. And one guy's like, I'm going to keep
one
going.
Of you left.
I'm not going to stop here. So wild. All right. With one last biker on her trail, Lorna makes her way to a little Adobe-style house isolated in the middle of this desert, and the biker suddenly explodes! What did he fucking think? Looks like the Adobe belongs to Alex Summers. Lorna is there to convince Alex to come back to the X-Men. Alex is there on top of like a mesa looking like, what's the guy's name from the first Jurassic Park?
T-Rex.
Yeah, looking like a T-Rex. No, the man.
Dr.
Alan Grant. Yeah. He's got that adventurer look going on.
Okay, yeah.
Lorna is there to convince Alex to come back to the X-Men. Alex is sick of his powers, sick of the X-Men, sick of superheroics, and he kicks her out. His yelling brings the Hulk, who takes Lorna and runs off. So Havoc suits up and chases them.
Yeah, we get the Havoc suit.
Mm-hmm. Because he can't contain his powers without them, even though he just did. Hulk has taken her up some kind of mesa, and when he realizes she's not Jarella, he gets pissed. Hulk and Havoc tussle until Hulk rips off a big pillar of the mesa with Lorna on top. Havoc then needs to calm himself down and control his powers because just blasting Hulk will make him drop Lorna to her death. So he narrows his blast to a tiny beam and annoys the Hulk so much that he can convince him to gently lower the pillar. Like, I'll stop annoying you in your forehead if you lower it gently. And then he uses his blasts to lower Lorna safely to the ground. This ordeal convinces him to go back to the X-Men with Lorna, so he says. The end. Here's the...
here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
No, I mean,
I like the characterization of Lorna and Alex.
Yes. I would say, and this is what I stopped short of saying earlier, this was a bad Hulk issue. This was a good X-Men issue.
Yeah. I mean, maybe save for the part where Havoc lowers Lorna to the ground with his blasts, which,
That's
I think
not
at
how
one point in the... Exactly. At one point in the future, he destroys a sun with them. There's no...
If we're on the subject of that's not how things work, that's also not how rocks work. You can't just lift a hill out of the ground and then carefully put it back.
Right. Well, I mean, if the mesa is one big solid rock, you maybe could.
I don't think he's under it. He's under it, holding it out. I think he's structurally destroyed the bottom of this mesa.
Imagine though if the mesa was just made out of like granite or something.
Like what? It was actually just a big building that someone never finished.
They were like, fuck it, and then filled the building with cement and walked away.
Okay, that's fair.
Pat, is this just all Hulk stories are? Like, are all Hulk stories just armies chasing the Hulk? Hulk fights them. Hulk runs away. Fights more army. He runs into maybe a super powered thing, gets into a fight, runs away again. Like, is that all Hulk stories are? Because in my imagination, that's what every Hulk story is. And now I have read one Hulk story, and that's what it was.
So they make reference to Jarella, who is Hulk's first love, I guess. And It turns out that they met inside an emerald dimension when he was sucked into some sort of gem. And that sounds like a Hulk story that I really want to read.
Right.
But instead, we're just watching him argue with the government and tear apart mountains, which, is like this is the filler content of a Hulk movie.
Jarella, that the story you're talking about was written by Harlan Ellison.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So I think it's problematic for somebody to fall in love with the Hulk.
The Hulk doesn't deserve love, you're saying?
No, I think the Hulk has like a 3-year-old level intelligence. I don't think it's appropriate to fall in love with the Hulk.
There are some later Hulk stories, like some much more recent Hulk stories that I'm very familiar with, where he falls in love, and it does feel very appropriate.
Okay.
Like when he goes to these battle planets and war worlds and finds a warrior that appreciates his bravery and his tenacity. Mm-hmm. I think that's they're finding the adult characteristics of the Hulk, that it's never a human, it's always another species that admires that sort of thing.
But in this era, Hulk is just like a big baby.
Yeah.
He just runs around like a baby and says stuff like a baby says and does baby stuff.
He has an adult's understanding of most things. He has a baby's grasp on language.
You think that's true? Because he's always just like, oh, mean man, hurt Hulk, run away, right? Like that doesn't appear to be an adult understanding of
I think that's just
conflict.
That's his lack of ability to communicate it. Rather than his, I could explain to you that, a bad man hit the Hulk and it made the Hulk mad. That's an adult sentence.
I don't know if that's true. I think it's more like, why did the man hit the Hulk? What solutions failed to cause the man to hit the Hulk? how could this communication gap have been bridged?
Well, he's driven by rage. That's what I'm saying. It's a communication issue
Like a
because he's so.
baby.
No, not like a baby.
All babies are driven by rage.
Like a talking dog.
So that's that is the triumphant return of Havoc and Polaris. Or sorry, there's no who's Polaris? Why would I even say such a weird word? I mean Lorna Dane.
Lorna Doone. We do get a couple of interesting facts about Alex Summers. Number one, the concentric circles on his chest, he says he's using to gauge his energy output. So it's not channeling the energy. This is him observing like level 1 energy output, level 2, level 3, level 4 as these circles go out from his chest.
But he's
That's
constantly
right?
Sure. He's constantly absorbing energy though.
Yes, that's the other thing he says. I draw unlimited power from the cosmic rays around us, which we kind of already knew, but here we are 2 years later. It's still cosmic rays that power him.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to see Havoc and Lorna again. That's what they've been doing. Havoc's been out in a desert, just hanging out by himself.
Hiding out, feeling guilty.
So, Pat, this feels fucking rudderless. Right? Like ending that issue and moving on to the next does not feel like a normal episode. It feels fucking so... I feel ungrounded.
Yeah, there's a strange vibe here, thanks to the Dark Era, where we're just kind of reading some half-assed comics because they have X-Men content in them.
Right. Well, we need to know what happens to the X-Men in the meantime, and some important stuff happens, like what we're about to talk about. But it just feels like I think this next one, the next few issues we're going to talk about are like a solid story.
Yes,
it's like the story of the Beast. What happened to the Beast during the time the X-Men were gone, and I think that might feel a little better. Because we can be like, okay, what happened in the next issue? Not like, all right, let's see what other issue has an X-Man in it.
Yeah. Although I will say, knowing that the X-Men does get uncanceled, this was really intriguing to say, like, wait, why all of a sudden after 2 years is Lorna Dane in the middle of the desert?
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of it, with Alex reflecting on his actions and being like, you know what, I think I could control my powers and be a superhero. After the emotional writing and art of the Alex and Lorna side of that issue.
Right.
We excited to see what happens next with the X-Men.
Right. It kind of feels like, it kind of feels good to know that people still care.
Yeah. But I do know that we're not going to follow back up on that in quite a while.
In fact, I don't know if we follow back up on the Lorna and Havoc story. I don't think we're going to follow up on that in the whole Dark Era. I think we will vaguely understand what happened to them by the end, but I don't think this is going to follow up.
Interesting.
But anyway, all right. So what's the next? Where do the X-Men pop up next?
The next appearance of our X-Men here is Amazing Adventures number 11. And like you said, Matt, it is just The Beast, which is the title of this issue.
Yeah. The
Beast.
Yeah, he takes over Amazing Adventures for about 7 issues, and we're going to tell you about them.
This is, for you nerds out there, Amazing Adventures Volume 2, of course.
Of course.
Stan Lee, editor, presents a new era in graphic art history as created by Jerry Conway, scripter, and Tom Sutton, artist, Sid Shores, inker, and Sam Rosen, letterer. Sam Rosen's still just
everywhere, man.
And Jerry Conway is here.
Okay.
He doesn't stick around
Spider-Man writer.
Yeah. We'll talk about Jerry Conway a lot more next episode, I believe. But what a guy. Spider-Man writer. He also invented the Punisher. He is another just Marvel legend. And he opens this story in media res as a dramatic narrator recounts in second person the story of a big furry gray monster who's stalking some spy breaking into a laboratory.
Res, I believe you meant to say.
I think it's in media res, Matt.
think it's in medias res.
I'm going to stand by it. I'm not going to let you disrupt my recap by correcting it.
Okay.
The monster beats the hell out of the man and gets shot a few times. The racket alerts some guards and a gunfight ensues as the monster flees and finds himself racked with guilt over the man's death.
Who's this monster?
Full of emotion, the monster locks himself in what he describes as his laboratory, and we find out that this beast is Hank McCoy of the X-Men.
No way!
He returned to his lab just a bit too late to transform back. He is now a big hairy beast forever.
Whoa.
This is the epilogue to this entire thing, Matt. This is breathtaking. Yeah. Flashback to Beast leaving the X-Men to take a new job at the Brand Corporation. He's choosing to put superheroing behind him and enter adulthood, which includes very suddenly dating some hot blonde babe named Linda Donaldson from his new job. He also got himself a new rival, the angry scientist Carl Maddickses.
I bet that'll be his, like, foil for the rest of the series.
Yeah, surely. Hank is working in the lab late one night when he discovers a chemical that can actually turn any human being into a mutant. And he gets so excited he starts running in the halls, only to overhear Carl Maddickses on the phone planning some sort of midnight heist.
Ooh.
He realizes he can't save the day as Hank or the Beast, so he decides his only option to disguise himself is to drink the chemical. This this transforms him into a big, hulking, gray, furry monster. Now we're caught up to the beginning. Apparently, the transformation affected his metabolic time sense.
What?
And that's why he was late. Anyway.
Wait, no, we just saw what made him late. It was that a bunch of stuff happened to him.
Anyway, he rages and finds Maddickses in the middle of his arrest and beats up the security guards to get at Carl and almost chokes him to death. At the last second, he changes his mind and runs away. But who's that in the shadows watching? It's Linda Donaldson, and if Maddickses failed, she'll have to take matters into her own hands. And she shoots Carl Maddickses dead.
Oh. But not like dead. Like
he's dead.
Oh, fuck. Okay, well. Bye, Carl Maddickses. We hardly knew you.
Yeah, we won't. We'll never hear from this guy again.
I wonder, the last name sounds familiar. I wonder if we'll ever hear anything about Carl Maddickses ever again in X-Men, the future of the X-Men ever.
No, he's dead.
Oh, okay. You don't think he had a family or anything?
Well, why would that come up? It would be an insane coincidence if one of this guy's family members came up years later. That's
yeah, you're right. That'd be stupid. So okay, this is an interesting issue. First of all, it's written in the second person. The whole issue's like, you are a beast with anger pulsing through your veins. You look down the dark hallways and you see a figure moving about in the shadows. Like, interesting.
Yeah, they're definitely taking a chance by doing this. I think it does harken back a little bit to like the old Strange Tales and Amazing Adventures of like the 40s and 50s, where they're trying to write a horror comic here for the first for the epilogue bit, and they are using just some of those old sort of still experimental techniques. I think writing in the second person is such a cool way to just add a little chill to this creepy tale.
And I think you're right. I think this is meant to feel a lot like a horror comic. The figures are all kind of ugly, and they kind of move in these like inhuman ways. And there's a lot, it's very dark and shadowy and dramatic. It definitely feels not like a superhero tale, feels like a horror tale. And and this idea is scary because like the Beast was like a happy-go-lucky weirdo. And now all of a sudden he's this angry, murderous monster. Yeah.
And you also, for the first half of the issue or so, you don't know that this is Hank McCoy either. You're just watching a tale about a beast. Like, if you picked this up off of shelves, you just assume this is some new character for this specific issue for the Amazing Adventures relaunch.
Right. How did you feel about it as an issue?
I thought it was neat. There's some stuff that they don't fully explain. Beast being able to get shot and just kind of
yeah, he takes a lot of bullets. Yeah.
They still don't explain why Angel is wearing that damn costume that Magneto gave him in the brief time we see the X-Men in this comic.
Right.
There's some things that I don't understand, like Linda, who has formed a tight relationship with Hank, actually
very quickly.
Yeah, they fall in love very quickly, and then it turns out she's got some nefarious plan. Like, some of this gets explained in further issues as we go on. Some of them absolutely doesn't.
Now, are we supposed to believe that this took place over a couple weeks or months? Because the way the issue is structured, it feels like it was 2 days, right?
Yeah, that is the other consistent theme through these Amazing Adventures issues. The time scale here doesn't make any sense. It's like watching a sitcom where, like, somebody has a date that night that you're looking forward to, but also another character goes through 3 days of plot before we get to character A's date.
Yeah. Well, look, our metabolic time sense has been thrown off, Pat. We can't.
Yeah, they explain it in issue 1. You really can fault them here.
Well, should I move on to Amazing Adventures 12?
Yeah, let's keep moving. We have a lot to cover, and this one is crazy.
Iron Man, DOA, written by Steve Englehart. Well, so Jerry Conway passes the torch.
Immediately.
I hate this guy, says Jerry Conway. You take him. Artist Tom Sutton, inker Mike Ploog.
It's like no disrespect to Mike Ploog, but that's an unfortunate name.
Lettered by Artie Simek. This was released in February of 1972. Hank McCoy, now a fully hairy, hunched, beclawed, and animalistic beast, is very upset about his new body. When the X-Men call him using telepathy, Beast tells them to leave him alone and hangs up on them with his brain. He then breaks into a library and a costume shop and steals a bunch of stuff so he can go through a Mrs. Doubtfire montage, transforming himself back into human using makeup and latex and a wig and some contraption that straightens his spine.
You're right, Matt. This is almost shot for shot the Mrs. Doubtfire costume scene.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just missing Harvey Fierstein.
Right, instead of him putting on like the boob contraption, he's putting on a spine contraption.
Harvey Fierstein should be a regular character in the X-Men.
Like he just shows up and gives them advice on how to what their new costume should be, or
he's friends with Hank. I think that would be it would make perfect sense.
If we did a movie of this early era, actually I would cast Harvey Fierstein as Bernard the Poet.
Ooh, yes.
Oh, Pat, we're never going to see Bernard the Poet again.
Maybe he'll be in a movie.
Yeah, maybe. All right,
let's get back to it. Iron Man DOA.
So the next day, or whatever, he goes into work to try and find a cure when Tony Stark shows up, curious about buying the Brand Corporation or something. Hank's new girlfriend, who is also a spy, Linda Donaldson, thinks about switching targets to Stark, but ends up going out with Hank again, who can't kiss her because of his weird disguise. That night, as the Beast, he sneaks back into the lab to work, only to find that Iron Man has also broken in.
Tony Stark's personal bodyguard, Iron Man?
Yeah. Why is he there? The two fight, and Beast has Iron Man on the ground where, despite Iron Man's pleas for mercy, Beast strangles him to death, and he's dead. And we get a funeral for Tony Stark, and it's no, but Beast does strangle him to death. Overcome with regret, he leaps out the window and off into the night. Moments later, it's revealed that the last few minutes of the fight and the murder were the illusions of Mastermind.
Oh no.
So I guess Tony Stark's not dead. Mastermind's reunited with Blob and Unus into a new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants to be continued. What's going on, Pat?
Ah, that absolute prick.
He's such an asshole. You know, Tom Sutton's doing some work here as an artist. This is also a horrifying, like, it's starting to get a little less horror-y, but it's still really disturbing looking. A lot of these pictures of like panels with the beast in them. And when he's wearing the Hank McCoy mask, it looks like the beast wearing a Hank McCoy mask.
Yes, it is not consistently like that through at some point they give up and just start drawing Hank. But all through this issue, like, it looks like a man wearing a strange costume. It looks like an homage to the Invisible Man almost.
Right. Even like there's this scene where he pulls the straps to make himself stand up straight like a human on his little contraption, and it's fucked up. Like, it feels like, you look at it, it looks painful. It looks realistic. Yeah.
No, it's also his take on Iron Man is pretty cool. It's just like, we're in an era where everybody that draws Iron Man has sort of a different take on what his costume looks like. And eventually that gets canonized by just saying like, oh yeah, he just has 1,000 costumes. But this take on him is really like, it's classic design, but I think more dynamic than we're used to seeing him, because he's often drawn by just like the old standard comic guys, the Don Hex of the world.
Right. This is something I left out of the recap, but maybe interesting to point out. Maybe it's not. Maybe that's why I left it out. Tony Stark's girlfriend has Esper powers.
Is it Esper or is it ESP, or like, oh, you're psychic, you're an ESP, or
I think it is technically the second, but you pronounce it Esper. Like, it is Esper. It means
because you don't want to call them a peer.
You don't want to say, otherwise it sounds like you're saying he is peer. Because all that does for us is teach us that Linda Donaldson is evil, but we already knew that. We watched her kill Carl Maddox. Yeah.
It is very rude of her to tell Hank that she's evil. To be like,
she doesn't. She waits till Hank walks away. I think you're thinking later on, Hank refers, I think, in one of the later issues that we'll cover,
she doesn't.
Hank will refer to the fact that she said he was evil, right?
Maybe she espered it to him.
Yeah, off panel.
A moment for Steve Englehart here, who, in my opinion, isn't like a super notable writer. He's a dependable, consistent writer through the 70s and 80s. He's done some fun stuff, but he is one of the young guys at Marvel at this point. He and Jerry Conway actually are like, Jerry Conway was 19 or 20 at this time. Right. Steve Englehart, still pretty young and very new in comics. Like, this is them saying, hey, you want something strange to do, take our Amazing Adventures reboot and make the X-Men useful again.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I don't know that the dialogue here and like the captions and stuff are great, but there's something really cool going on. And I think we'll talk about it when we wrap it up, like when we're done this whole arc. But I think something really interesting is happening here, like thematically and almost poetically, right?
Yeah.
So speaking of wrapping this up, do you want to move on to what a weird transition, man. Do you want to tell us about Amazing Adventures?
No, go with it.
Speaking of wrapping it up, do you want to step one step closer to that? In fact, it's even one step closer to death if we're thinking of the great scale of time.
If you consider your life a series of tasks and not on a timeline, then yes. Amazing Adventures. So buckle up. Amazing Adventures number 13, Evil is All in Your Mind. Release date April 18th, 1972. Cover date July 1972. Smilin' Stan Lee, editor. Stainless Steve Englehart, writer. Titanic Tom Sutton, artist. Friendly Frank Giacoya, inker. And John Costa Costanza, letterer. So long, Artie Simek. Having fallen for Mastermind's ploy, the Beast is running around in a frenzy where the new Brotherhood of Evil Mutants find him and attempt to convince him to join their team. To do so, they take him to a circus. Hank, meanwhile, has lost his memories and so doesn't recognize any of these dudes, and because of his bestial form, they don't recognize him.
Yeah.
Back at the Brand Corporation, ambiguous military guy Buzz Baxter and his wife Pat arrive to investigate the recent spate of beast attacks at the labs. Buzz Baxter and Pat, Matt.
Yeah, it turns out that's you and Buzz Baxter. No, it turns out that's Patsy Walker.
Yeah.
Hellcat. And her high school
Hellcat.
boyfriend, Buzz Baxter. Do you want some background on him?
Yeah, please.
So they both first appeared in Miss America magazine #2 in 1944. This was during the Millie the Model and Patsy Walker era of Marvel Comics. So it was like all romance comics and stuff and some Westerns. So when it was brought into the Marvel universe, it turned out like they explained it away as like the original Patsy Walker was an in-fiction comic book written by her mother, Dorothy. Like, in the Marvel universe, Dorothy wrote a comic book about her daughter called Patsy Walker. But her first actual appearance was in Millie the Model 103 in 1961 as Patsy. The daughter of the person who wrote blah, blah, blah. So, both are going to eventually become superheroes. Patsy Walker becomes Hellcat, Buzz Baxter becomes Mad Dog. And we're not going to talk about them probably much ever again because they have almost nothing to do with the X-Men. I think
and I think pretty short-lived careers, honestly.
Yeah, I think there's a Hellcat crossover in like the AVX, the Avengers and X-Men era, but we're really not going to see these people ever again. So like this is our last chance to spend some time with Patsy Walker and Buzz Baxter in this arc.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. And in here, they are just civilians. Neither of them have become heroes yet. They just needed an Air Force captain and an empathetic woman. They discover that Hank McCoy is missing, which sends his girlfriend/spy, Linda Donaldson, into a panic. At that same time, Mr. Grant, the company's owner, is worried that there may be espionage happening in his labs. So the Baxters head to Hank's apartment to investigate. Buzz wants to break in, which we are reminded will cause him to discover the Mrs. Doubtfire disguise kit, but thankfully, Pat stops him. As they leave, a shadowy brown-haired lady in glasses watches and worries about what this means for her life.
Who did you think this was at first? Did you have any theories?
I kind of guessed it right away.
Yeah, exactly. It looks just like the person. Okay, anyway.
Meanwhile, the Brotherhood and the Beast are gearing up to steal the world's largest diamond from some mansion so Mastermind can sell it over and over to jewelers using his illusion powers to consistently steal it back. This is a bad plan, Matt.
Okay, yeah, tell me how.
Okay, so the plan is to show them the world's largest gem.
Hand them the real gem, yeah.
Hand them the real gem so they can check it for authenticity. Number one, you're dealing with criminals and you're trusting them not to use this as their opportunity to steal the gem, right?
Right.
But then after they check it for authenticity, they say, okay, here's your money. Please give me the gem. You give them an illusory gem. They take it home and presumably when they're out of range of power, discover that they've been had, or when the illusion wears off.
Well, he shows it shows a panel of them putting it in their safe because that's what Mastermind assumes they'll all do with it is go home, put it in their safe and not look at it for a long time.
Right. It depends on them not noticing. Also, not talking to any other shady characters in this jewel criminal underworld that claim they have the same diamond.
Not looking. They have the gem. They inspect it. They hand it back to Mastermind. Mastermind then holds on to it for a minute while they go get the money, and they bring it back, and they're not going to inspect it again. This is Mastermind.
Right. And here's
You're going to look at this. You're going to take one look at this fucking creep and go, hold on. Let me inspect this diamond again.
But let's presume that he gets away with all of that. How long does he how many times does he think he can do this before he ruins his reputation as a seller in the diamond underworld?
And does he think none of them are going to come back after him?
It's a small underworld, Matt.
Yeah, it's just them and that Adam Sandler.
Right. Unus and Blob, who are also here, use their own powers of force field and fat to slam into the beast on either side, causing him to slip up into the air, and I quote, like soap through a fist. Then swing on a flagpole and leap 50 feet into the air. He breaks in, steals the diamond.
I'm just going to say, this makes perfect sense, Pat, because if you and your friend charge at full speed into a third friend, both hitting evenly on either side, that friend will
belly flop.
That friend will fly up into the air.
Like soap through a fist, Matt.
So stupid.
Like the grains of sand through the hourglass.
These are the soaps of our lives.
He breaks in, steals the diamond, and then suddenly has a change of heart. So, of course, the Brotherhood attacks him, which causes him to regain his memory, and he beats the hell out of them, calls the police, and leaves.
I'll say the Brotherhood attacking him is like turnabout is fair play, right? Like they're like, hey, you don't want to join the Brotherhood anymore? We're going to beat you up. The X-Men did that to everybody.
Yeah. That's sort of a cruel twist of fate. That's I think they're aware of the irony there. Also, Blob innocent.
Blob innocent.
And then to cap it off, Mastermind apparently is driven catatonically insane simply because he lost. That's literally what the comic says. Beast leaves him mumbling to himself in a park.
He's like, the combination of losing the fight and losing the diamond has driven Mastermind insane, and he's just like, he's just laying down, drooling and mumbling to himself like Psycho Pirate at the end of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
I think it's what they're trying to imply here is that he is stuck in his own illusions, and it's sort of like cyclical. The more he believes in them, the more he kind of creates and intensifies his illusions, and that has just left him
mad. But that's not what they say.
Yeah, well, they simplify it. They gotta fit it in a few panels, you know.
Yeah. They don't have a whole podcast to explain it.
That's right.
They say in this, there's a line of dialogue in this comic. It's always darkest before the dawn. Which is the name of the epic collection that this is in. And so that wouldn't be weird all by itself, right?
Yeah, like, grabbed a good obscure quote.
They picked a single obscure quote, a single line of dialogue that fit thematically with, the X-Men's brightest era comes right after.
It's a great grab.
But we'll talk about it in the next episode. That's not the only time this phrase comes up.
No, it is
in not. This dark era. And to me, that's really fucking weird. Like, why is everybody saying it all the time? Like, why is it popping up all the time? Never did before, and now it is.
Calm down. It seems to me like they know that they are bringing the X-Men back at some point. That this is like sort of a long-term plan. I imagine financially they had to release it, and they're trying to seed something because, like,
I don't know if I believe that.
Yeah, maybe not. But
it's a good theory.
I am hoping, I'm being optimistic and saying, like, hey, they're doing this all with Giant Size X-Men #1 in mind.
Yeah. All right. What else? Yeah. What else did you think about this issue? Unus and Blob, besides the weird belly bounce. I love them. It's like two bros broing out.
Yeah, peas in a pod, absolutely. They're both just kind of like scumbaggy dudes. One very fit, the other not very fit, but both extremely powerful. Not really smart enough to pull anything off on their own.
Right.
I gotta say, every time I see Unus, I feel betrayed. You promised, dude. What was that? X-Men #4?
Yeah. To Hank McCoy.
Hank directly that you will never... This is the very specific wording of it. You will never use your powers to join the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants again.
And yeah, every time he shows up, it's not just that he broke his promise, it's that it invalidates that story. Like, as unbelievable it was at the time of it. So is X-Men #8. As unbelievable as it was at the time to be like, for us to buy that line. Like, okay, they've defeated him so bad, he's just never going to do it again. Every time he does it, it's like, we were right. You were... Not only was Unus lying to us, Stan Lee was lying to us.
Yeah. And he's essentially daring Hank to build that machine again that curses him to never be able to touch anything.
And why doesn't he? Why do they never do it again?
Because it's existentially terrifying. Like, that is, you're dooming him to a slow death if you do it. And I think Unus knows that. He's like, you're not going to do that again. You know how crazy I went when that happened. You don't want to see me like that.
You think the X-Men have sat around and been like, hey, we really got to talk about that thing we did to Unus. Now you've got me saying it wrong.
Yes.
You know that thing we did to Unus, we can't do that again to anybody ever, right? And then Hank's like, yeah.
Sure. No more curses. Also, here's what else I'm pissed about.
Okay.
I just hate Mastermind. He is just a weaselly little pervert.
He is the worst. I can't think of another villain who is as like viscerally disgusting, and not even on a physical level, just like makes my skin crawl that he has the brain he has.
Yeah, little creep. Anyway, he's being weaselly and creepy all fucking issue.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things of this issue is when Beast breaks into the mansion and he goes to steal the diamond. It's supposed to be like an aspect of his agility, that it's like, oh, there's a laser grid protecting it.
Right.
And
yeah.
And he's so agile he can reach his hand in and not touch. No, it's his giant fucking hand. What are the two most important physical attributes about the Beast that have stayed constant?
Giant hands, giant feet.
Yeah. So his massive fucking hands fit through the holes in this laser grid. Why even have a laser grid? Me and you could be like, we could be hopped up on caffeine and cocaine, right? And have our hands just like jerking wildly and still reach in and grab that diamond.
It seems, I mean, it is the world's biggest diamond, Matt. You got to make the laser grid big enough that you can pull it out.
No, that's the opposite of what you have to do.
How are they going to get it out of there when they need it?
You're right. Well, if that's the case, if they just like need that diamond a lot, like it's the key to their bathroom or something.
Yeah. Yes.
like when you're in an escape room and it's like oh, you're in Sherlock Holmes's parlor, and it's like you have to turn the candle 3/4 of the way around in order to like this whole series of things to open the door. And it's like,
yeah.
He has to do this every day. He has to do this every time. So if it's like that with the gem.
You're telling me Sherlock Holmes has to do all this every time he uses the bathroom?
Yeah, every time he's walking from his bedroom into the bathroom, and he has to pass through the study, and he's gotta like figure out which colors are flashing on the light array on top of his ceiling, so that he can input those colors in the right sequence on his piano.
And he designed this himself, or someone's breaking into his apartment. Like, this is how I imagine you arguing with the manager of the escape room. So Hank loses his memories, and we sort of watch him slowly recover them throughout the issue. And I think there's some really fun things they do to illustrate it. Number one, he grabs the gem, and then he's like, is this the right thing to do? I can't really remember who I am, but I don't remember stealing gems being a righteous thing to do. And here's what he says, there's no time for thinking now, which is just a great sign that Hank is still in there. After that, it's sort of a series of references he starts making. First of all, he calls Mastermind Boris Badenov. You know who Boris Badenov is, Matt?
From Rocky and Bullwinkle?
From Rocky and Bullwinkle, that's right. So his cultural references are returning to him. Also, sick burn on Mastermind, because they're both little creepy pervert-looking dudes. He starts inserting themes from the Jungle Book, just about his animalistic nature. And then finally, he makes a lot of very obvious references to Alice in Wonderland, which is an extremely comic book understanding of a smart person.
Well, what they say when you lose your memory, the first thing to come back is your literary references. And then you remember that stealing diamonds is wrong. And then you remember who your enemies are. Then finally you remember your name. Remember that episode of Full House where Michelle fell off the horse and had to go through all those stages?
Right. She had to re-identify her enemies.
Okay. So the next issue is Amazing Adventures number 14, The Vampire Machine.
Great.
Release date June 1972. Written by Steve Englehart. Artist Tom Sutton. Embellished by Jim Mooney. Lettered by John Costanza. Edited by Roy Thomas.
Hey, Roy. Moving up in the world a bit.
Nice to see you again, I guess. Well, as long as you're not writing the dialogue. The issue opens with Beast interrupting a weapons test at Stark Industries to ask Iron Man why he's still alive.
It's a rude thing to ask someone.
Especially when they're in the middle of something as important as getting missiles launched at their head. He figures out his murder of Iron Man was all an illusion and goes home just in time for Linda Donaldson to knock on the door. Quickly throwing on his disguise, he pretends to be sick and throws Linda out. As she leaves, the mysterious lady from last issue walks into the apartment and rings the doorbell, telling us her life depends on Hank. But he's busy jumping out the window.
Another very strong Mrs. Doubtfire parallel here, with him rushing, only being able to get half his costume on, and trying to use whatever he can find in his kitchen to make the rest of it work.
Yeah, it's only shy of slamming his face into a cream pie.
Right.
He once again goes back to Brand and once again gets shot at by their extremely vigilant and aggressive standing military force. He breaks into his lab, gets into his disguise, and walks out in the middle of the beast hunt to talk to Buzz and Patsy Baxter. Like, oh, hey, I'm fine. Stop looking for me. Linda shows up wondering how Hank got back here so fast, and Buzz starts to get suspicious, telling his wife to shut up and asking where Hank has been. Buzz. He lies, saying he was with Linda, assuming she'd back him up, but Linda says, no, you weren't. Such a good moment.
That's embarrassing.
Thankfully, Hank is saved from this interrogation by another beast appearance on the brand grounds?
What?
Unfazed by this, he heads back to the lab to find a cure for himself, but he catches sight of this other beast and strips off his disguise to chase it. Turns out, Pat, who's the worst person this could possibly be? This is a cameo of an X-Men villain. Who's the one you want to see the absolute least?
I'm going to say Quasimodo.
Yeah, it's Quasimodo, the living computer from issue of X-Men 48, where he pretends to be a different computer named Computo. He and Hank fight, all the while arguing about the nature of humanity. Quasimodo wants to steal Hank's life force and become human.
It's the vampire workaround.
Yeah. But Hank argues that humanity comes from emotion and not logic. The beast begins to lose the fight as he suddenly realizes his powers are fading away and gets shot in the arm with a rivet gun, but refuses to give up, seeing that act of futile humanity. Quasimodo realizes he'll never be human like Hank and leaps to his death. Good fucking riddance.
Man, they really are just wrapping up these villains pretty cleanly.
Yeah, that's true. Mastermind, insane. Iron Man, dead. Quasimodo, dead. Carl Maddox, dead.
Don't worry, Quasimodo kills himself. There is
quasi-motivational. What is it? Quasi-motivational
organ of destruction?
Something like that.
Quasi-motivational destructive organ. I believe.
I don't want to look it up.
Here's what I absolutely love about the approach to this issue. This is, again, them trying to explore some, like, sort of pop science fiction topics, but not wanting to go deep enough to really make you think about it. So Quasimodo's approach is saying, like, Hank, it's actually good to die. Like, think about it. I'm a living computer, and if I have your life force, I'll basically be human and be able to do everything. Like, I'll be so powerful, dude. And you just need to die. Like, it's almost selfish of you not to die and give you my life force. And it almost works. Hank considers it. But in the end, Quasimodo makes it clear that he was dedicated. He really did think this was the best solution, because he says, oh, I see that your humanity and your reliance on emotion and not logic makes you continue fighting. I understand now that that's what's beautiful about humanity. I could never do that. So it would be more noble for me to die.
Yeah.
He's taken his own medicine here. He believes the stuff he's preaching, at least. And that's why he jumps to his death. And
that's why he's your favorite supervillain.
He redeems himself a little bit there.
Beast is starting to look a little bit more like the Beast each issue, too, right? Like, he gets actually a little more blue.
Yeah. His face gets a little more humanity every issue, too.
Yeah, he starts looking as, like, terrifying and starts looking kind of like a cartoon, which is, like, what he'll eventually look like forever. It's kind of like a cartoon. Yeah. How does nobody put this fucking simple-ass mystery together? What? Okay, so the day the Beast shows up, Hank McCoy goes missing. Then, the day Hank McCoy reappears, the Beast shows back up.
Hey, have you noticed Hank's face is a little off? And that he won't kiss his girlfriend anymore? And there's little blue tufts of hair sticking out of his eyes sometimes.
That's right. What's he doing about his eyes, which are clearly, like, animalistic?
He's got contacts, I'm sure.
I guess.
Maybe he's wearing glasses all the time. Maybe he's just painting the eyeballs on the lenses of his glasses.
Like he's trying to fall asleep in class. Well, I guess they do. You know, now that I think about it, now, like, I'm going back through the issue, I guess they do show his glasses being tinted. Right? They have like a green tint to them. Yeah.
He borrowed that from his old buddy Slim Summers.
But his eyes do look human through the glasses, sort of.
All right. Are you justifying it or are you not justifying it?
I don't know. I'm just trying to be honest. We be honest here on this show. I think you are also right. This is where he stops. He starts to not look like a man in a costume anymore. He starts to just look like Hank McCoy.
My last thought about this issue is Linda, Agent 9, has a constant inner monologue when she's talking to everyone that is just like, little do you know I'm a spy, you absolute moron. Every time she's talking to Hank and she's like, don't worry, we're going to figure this all out. We'll take care of it. But then the thought bubble right next to those words is, until I kill you, you clown.
Pat, have you ever had a secret in your life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Have you ever had a secret that
now
isn't a secret anymore that you could tell me right now?
Yeah, like when a friend was pregnant.
Okay. So every time you had a conversation with somebody else, were you not thinking, yeah, Janet is pregnant, you fucking idiot?
Okay, that's a good point. That does run through. Oh, you have no fucking clue, do you?
Yeah. Do you want to tell me about Amazing Adventures number 15?
Yeah, let's move on. Amazing Adventures number 15, Murder in Midair. Release date, August 15th, 1972. Cover date, November 1972. Yep, it's another winner from the New Kids at 575 Madison Avenue.
You have to read it.
As Stan Lee presents Steve Englehart scripter, Tom Sutton, Frank Giacoia, and John Tartag, I assume short for John Tartaglione, are our artists. Gene Izzo is our letterer, and Roy Thomas is once again our editor. Struggling with his rivet gun injury, the Beast stumbles into the apartment of Patsy Walker, whose natural empathy drives her to treat his wound rather than immediately turn him over to the authorities. Delirious, Hank recaps his own transformation into this monster to himself in clear enough detail out loud for Patsy to overhear it.
Do you think we just see that part, and in actuality it was what Hank always does, where he's like, it started when I was born, and I came out and my feet and hands were much larger than another baby's.
Yes, absolutely. He told his full life story, and we just see the clips of that are convenient to bring us up to speed here. With this information, she's able to persuade him to not run away, and instead, they have an off-panel chat. Matt?
There is going to be, that off-panel chat actually is going to have like huge implications. One implication later in the story, and then another implication way down the line. And I'm just going to say it here because, again, I don't think we're going to talk about her again. Beast eventually is in the Avengers when Hellcat joins. And what he promises to her here is that in order to do what she does later in, I think, this issue or maybe next issue, he will help her be a superhero because she's always been obsessed with superheroes.
Yeah. It's very cool.
We don't see that in this comic. You don't find out until like
the 80s, right?
Yeah, like 5-10 years later when she becomes Hellcat.
Very
Maybe
cool
it's
stuff.
Longer than that. Maybe it's like 15 years later.
Cut to Westchester, New York, where Scott has blonde hair and Warren is outraged by another headline of a beast attacking Hank's new workplace. Despite Xavier's objection, Warren rushes out to find his friend Hank. Hank is traversing through the city after his chat with Patsy Walker when he's accosted by not just a Griffin, but the Griffin.
Peter Griffin.
A man with a lion's mane and paws and wings.
Not different guy.
The two of them battle in the sky just as Warren arrives. Having not seen Hank's new form yet, Warren decides to watch this fight for a few minutes and figure out who the good guy is.
Warren!
Hank has the upper hand, which prompts Warren to try and save the Griffin.
Warren!
The Griffin turns around and just knocks him out of the sky.
Yeah,
Hank is somehow able to save him, and the two have a actually genuinely sweet reunion. Just as they're leaving, a mysterious woman hops out of a cab and tries to catch them. Who could that be?
What's this woman?
Cut to Linda, aka Agent 9, making contact with her boss. It's number 1 of the Secret Empire.
Whoa.
They disagree on best practices. Griffin shows up to the meeting and reveals that he was once a regular dude, but now he's an unnatural creation of the Secret Empire and thinks it kind of sucks. Hank shows up at Baxter's office in his human suit in time for his questioning. Apparently less than a day has passed in all this. And has a fake alibi that's backed up by both Warren and Patsy, a result of this off-panel bargain. Hank and Warren go on the hunt for the Griffin, but he finds them first. Unfortunately for him, he's no match for 2 X-Men. But I should say he can take Warren very easily, but he's no match for the Beast, and he is handily defeated. Mm-hmm. Hank heads home, shares a heartfelt goodbye with Warren, when he's finally confronted by the mysterious woman that's following him. Who is she, you ask?
Who is she?
We'll find out next issue.
This is the first appearance of the Griffin. Did you know that?
I did not know that. He's an established character throughout the Marvel Universe, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of these era of villains where it's like the Unicorn or something, where it's like he's kind of ridiculous and he shows up. Some people try to make him cooler. Most of the times he shows up and it's like it's a little bit of a play on how silly he is, but he becomes like an Avengers villain and stuff.
I really thought
Daredevil at some point.
I thought Griffins would be a lot more common in literature when I was a kid. And I think the Griffin is part of the reason why. It's like, he pops up in comic books.
I didn't know.
Pops up in Greek mythology. He must also pop up in detective novels.
Yeah, I didn't know the Griffin in the comic books until much later. Yeah, why don't we see more Griffins?
I mean, they're extinct now, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay. So in this issue, Beast changes color, right?
Yes.
And he loses the power to take gunshot wounds and be super. It seems later in a Hulk issue that we're going to read later this episode, it seems like they changed it because he was too Hulk-like.
Yeah. He was a little too invulnerable. Like he was...
Yeah.
Before he lost his powers, he was shaking off bullets. So
they change him back to just like the Beast, all the superpowers of the Beast, but now he's furry and has claws.
You could argue that the other reason they started removing these powers is because we're soon going to meet another mutant who can shake off bullets pretty easily and kind of makes that his thing.
Who's that?
We'll find out.
But here's the thing. So Beast changes color. And this is freaking me out, man. Because this is the same about the X-Men's uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
They were intended to be black and gold, black and yellow, not blue and yellow. And the Beast is intended to be black. He says in this issue, Patsy Walker says, your fur, it's black.
Yeah.
Beast is black, not blue. What?
Wild. You can see it, right? You can see that the Beast and I guess the old X-Men costumes, like what they're drawing is black with light shining on it with sort of a bluish sheen instead of a pure white reflection because of the black on it. But it's not a thing that many people can draw effectively enough to not just make it look like it's blue.
And both the X-Men and Beast look better blue with the blue than the black.
It's true. Yeah.
Like if Beast was on screen as black, like with black fur, I don't think he would be as effective as blue.
This is the dress all over again. I think I've already made that joke on this podcast. Hank and Warren meeting up is legitimately really sweet. There is a panel of Hank, even in his like weird, slightly more human, but still fairly inhuman furry face. You can see the love in his eyes and he's saying, "Hi, buddy." It's really cute.
Man. Yeah. It's really sweet. It's like you're starting to get a sense of who Beast is going to become.
Yeah.
And it's a lot like the original Beast, like kind of bubbly, kind of jokey, kind of, using big words and literary allusions and stuff.
Yeah. And not afraid of his emotions.
Not afraid of them. Yeah, I think so. The Secret Empire thing that's coming out is kind of interesting. This is, I mean, I might as well just reveal now. I don't think there's any danger of spoiling this stuff. This is the plot that's going to run throughout all of the X-Men's Dark Era. They are being pursued by and on the run from the Secret Empire for the entire next 3 years in other people's comics. Captain America, in the Avengers and stuff. They are fighting basically a war with the Secret Empire, which also becomes like a big arc in Captain America. Like, I think it was like his first really standout arc was Captain America versus the Secret Empire. And it ties into the X-Men.
Yeah, it's a very cool and I think pretty bold idea. It does unfortunately mean that if you're just reading Amazing Adventures, you do not get any conclusion to the Secret Empire saga part of it.
Right. Which we're about to kind of find out.
Yeah.
If you're ready to move on to Amazing Adventures 16.
I want to talk about one more thing because it's extremely funny. There are 2 panels of Warren standing around and watching Griffin and Beast fight, followed by him trying to save the wrong man. Hank gets the upper hand.
Yeah.
Griffin is falling to the ground, unable to fly to get himself out of it. So Warren rushes in to save him. Griffin turns around and says, "Thanks for the help, you idiot," and then just punches him in the face hard enough to knock him out.
I don't know. No one ever reconciles with the fact that Angel is the world's worst superhero.
He's terrible.
Are we the first ones to ever notice this? Because nobody ever talks about how Angel is horrible at this.
His superpower is really his ability to survive that and get back up, which they all acknowledge. Durability is his big thing. You think it's flying, but it's actually... he'll get back up.
This is the first time he didn't rush in without thinking. This is the first time he pauses to think, and he's like comes to the absolutely wrong conclusion.
And then gets wrecked for it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we can move on to Amazing Adventures number 16. What do you got, Matt?
And the Juggernaut will get you if you don't watch out. That's what it's called. I wasn't talking about you.
Oh, thank you.
Released on October of 1972, written by Steve Englehart, drawn by Bob Brown, inked by Frank McLaughlin. These credits are a little weird. Lettered by Charlotte Jenner in cooperation with caricaturist Marie Severin. I don't know what that is supposed to be. Colorist Glenn Ween and editor Roy Thomas.
This is the first colorist credit we've seen on a comic that we read during this podcast, Matt.
Is it?
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting. That's wild. So, it is Halloween night. The Beast stalks through the night, startling an oddly specific group of nerds driving an oddly specific beat-up old Mustang down a country road in Vermont. He's rushing to a secret rendezvous in the woods with the mysterious woman that's been chasing him, and after donning his human Hank McCoy mask, we find out that this woman is Vera. Hank's frequent date from his younger days. Aw. They hitch a ride with the same weird nerds and their same shitty Mustang who can take them as far as the Halloween parade in Rutland, Vermont. Who are these fucking nerds, Pat?
Matt, the Halloween parade in Rutland, Vermont?
Yeah.
The fucking nerds are Marvel writers. For some reason, they wrote themselves and drew themselves into this comic.
Yeah, it's like Len Wein, Glynis Wein.
It is blowing my...
Jerry Conway.
Canonical mind. I do not understand. So what they're doing here is officially establishing that there is a Marvel Comics within the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
And that the actual writers of Marvel characters work there.
Oh, yes. Steve Englehart is one of these guys, too.
Yeah. The writer of this very comic
He's writing his own
in
name.
the comic.
Yeah.
And logically, you could work that out. I guess you could say, like, yeah, of course, there's still a Marvel Comics that exists. They just don't write about the X-Men. Or even, I know there's some interpretations where, like, Marvel Comics are still comics published within the Marvel Universe, but they're
About the
like
superheroes
embellished
that are real.
versions about real superheroes. Yeah. So I guess that's what they're doing, but it's kind of what I want to focus on here is the Rutland Halloween parade.
Okay.
A relatively frequent location or event in Marvel Comics in the 70s, originally showed up in Avengers 83 in 1970.
Shit, really? Wow.
Rutland is a real-life town that holds a real-life huge Halloween parade. They've done it since 1960. Tom Fagan, who was involved with the planning of the parade, was a huge comic book nerd in Rutland. And after the first one said, this was great, but it would work even better with Batman. And so the second one had Batman in the parade. And it worked. People went nuts for it. Fagan likely played Batman himself, but this is unconfirmed because he refused to disclose his secret identity all the way to his death in 2008.
Holy shit.
This guy's a true fan.
Wow.
So this started a huge tradition of including superheroes in the parade, and that has continued ever since. Fagan wrote to Marvel Comics about it. He actually bought ads in DC Comics and a Batman comic about the parade. He invited Roy Thomas, who eventually came to the 1964 parade. Now, unofficially, it sounds like there was a lot of DC and Justice League characters in the parade at that time, and Roy Thomas seems to, this is my interpretation, Roy Thomas seems to have taken it personally, which is why he was like, okay, we're including this Halloween parade in Marvel Comics to get more Marvel characters into this parade. They also made Tom Fagan a character in the Marvel Universe. He is even in this comic. In 1980, just a couple more facts. In 1980, The Watcher explained in the letters page of What If number 22, the nexus near Rutland is an artificial aperture that fluctuates in size and accessibility. For reasons that I have not investigated, it has not been opened in recent years. This is obviously a What If comic, so you have to kind of use your best judgment. Salt, yeah. But I do think that this is a very fun way to make sure that it's an official part of the universe. It does have fun. Between Marvel and DC in the 1970s, it has 14 appearances of either the parade, Tom Fagan, or Rutland, Vermont, and 19 appearances total throughout history. The last one was in 1997.
So between the 1970s and 1997, only 5 appearances. Everybody got sick of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know any of that. You want to go? So they still have this Halloween parade?
They do still have this Halloween parade. I would absolutely
road trip.
Are you kidding?
Me and you.
Yeah.
This year. So Hank and Vera have arrived at the Halloween parade in Rutland, Vermont with a bunch of fucking comic book writers. Vera is helping Hank flee to Canada, not only to escape his own persecution, but as it turns out, to ask for help with a mutant genetics project. If they don't arrive in Canada within the week, the whole world will die.
My God.
Somehow, I don't know if I believe those stakes. They've never been true in any comic before. Anyway, naturally, Hank insists they hang around Rutland for the Halloween festivities. He's smart, right? He knows that this isn't true. He knows that they're just... On the same desolate road, Juggernaut falls from a pink hole in the sky, declaring that he has returned to Earth bent on revenge. But before he can take a single step, he's sucked back up into that hole and reminded that he's here for revenge. And at this time, should be directing his revenge at Hank McCoy, who happens to be in the same town. This causes a problem for Hank, as he is Hank McCoy. Juggernaut shows up again and wrecks a few Halloween parade floats before being sucked back into the pink hole in the sky, again giving Hank a chance to sneak off and remove his human costume. Juggernaut falls back out of the pink hole in the sky right in front of him, and the two fight through the woods and end up crashing Tom Fagan's party.
They love just pulling Juggernaut through this pink hole in the sky.
It's all they do with Juggernaut. Like, I'm glad they eventually threw this away, because all we ever see of Juggernaut is, I fell out of the hole. Oh man, I'm getting sucked back up into the hole. Every issue.
His first appearance in this comic, he gets dumped out onto the road from the pink hole. He says, "I have returned to Earth. It's time to wreak havoc," and then gets just immediately sucked back up into the pink hole in the sky.
Later, he's bragging about destroying floats made of paper mache, which even notes that they're made of paper mache.
Yeah, I don't care that they're paper mache. I'm still gonna smash them.
And then he gets sucked into the big hole again. Oh no, the big hole!
It is a really cool fight sequence. They're fighting like across the landscape of a dam. There's just these big, brilliant landscapes. You see a lot of Hank acrobatics out of it, and there is just there's a menace to Juggernaut being able to just consistently charge forward.
There's a moment where Hank swims across a lake or a reservoir, I think it might be. And because his fur is wet, it slows him down enough that Juggernaut can catch up with him. So the fight ends with Hank putting his human suit back on to blend in at the party. He tears his mask off once Juggernaut shows up, fighting him in a full suit and furry face, shocking and disgusting Juggernaut so much that Hank is able to remove his helmet.
It's fucking...
And as we all know, Pat, Juggernaut's helmet is the true source of his powers. So now he's helpless.
Right, it's all in his helmet.
Yeah, so this is, Steve Englehart surely read that comic book right when Roy Thomas or whoever wrote that all the powers in Juggernaut's helmet. So Hank pounces and literally beats the youth out of Juggernaut. It turns out his dimensional travel has aged him horribly, but his driving revenge has restored his youth. Now that he's defeated, he has aged into a helpless old man and is sucked back up into the pink sky hole. He says, "Now I must return to that dimension to quickly finish aging and die. You couldn't know, but I die anyway."
Very passive aggressive. He's, you couldn't have known, but I'm still gonna die.
I'm gonna die, and
it's not your fault. It's not.
You didn't do this.
You had no idea that you could have caused this, but yeah, I'll be dying now.
I will definitely be dead, so you'll never see me again.
You'll probably be fine.
Juggernaut. This is a Juggernaut that is speaking like a supervillain again, which I do not like.
Yeah, he's not.
He's like, "Oh, you puny mortals will be crushed under my heel, and I will take my revenge upon the world." That's not Juggernaut.
Yeah, to be fair, he's gone through a lot in those dimensions.
Yeah, apparently he turned to old man.
He's aged a lifetime.
Yeah. I don't have that much. I mean, besides Vera's back and the Marvel writers, there's not like a lot super, super interesting about this issue.
I legitimately, when we saw Hank dating Linda Robinson, I wrote down a note that I had to later delete that said, "I guess Vera's out of the picture."
Yeah, well, I mean, he moved to LA. Or no, he moved to San Francisco. Him and Bobby moved to San Francisco. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that they had to do that. Are they
still living there? No, they moved back to New York right away.
Yeah.
But if you were dating somebody in the 1960s and they moved to San Francisco, you'd be like, "Oh, I guess it's over."
Right. Yeah. It's not like you're keeping up a long distance texting relationship.
Yeah.
I gotta say, Beast, mask off, human mask off, so it's just his furry face, but he's still in a full suit.
Mm-hmm.
Looks incredible. I know he doesn't want to wear the braces that make him stand up straight so he can wear a full suit, but Hank McCoy knows how to dress, and now that with a big blue cat's head coming out of it is fucking cool.
Yeah.
It is incredible. I just think kicking ass in a full suit is extremely cool.
How do we want to do these next two issues? Because the next one is like is literally 2 pages long.
Yeah, I think we can just talk through it real quick. This Amazing Adventures number 17 is just the Beast origin story reprinted.
Yeah.
Englehart
and
actually Jim Starlin put together 2 bookend pages where Blue Furry Beast explains sets the scene, says here's why we're watching my origin story.
And it basically explains, this got canceled. So, look for me other places. I'll be around, just not here.
Right. Jim Starlin.
So, yeah, well, that was so fucking hard for us to figure out.
It took a while.
That took me and you like 10 minutes before we started this recording to figure out, because he's credited in the issue as just Starling. And we were like, so it looks like Jim Starlin's art. So Pat said, oh yeah, and Jim Starlin. That's awesome. And I was like, yeah, wait, it's not Jim Starlin, it's a Starling. And then we were like Googling Starling, and we were like, was there a Starling that drew for Marvel?
There wasn't.
And no, it wasn't. It was Jim Starlin. They just wrote his name wrong.
Would
have made it so much easier to discover if they'd put his first name in there, but no, they just wrote Starling.
Yeah. The reliable folks on the Marvel fandom wiki have gotten to the bottom of this and determined that this was just a miscredited Jim Starlin. Jim Starlin, of course, being the inventor of Thanos, among plenty of other things, but that is his probably biggest claim.
Yeah, he did like the death of Captain Marvel and the Infinity Gauntlet. Those are like his huge. Yeah.
This Beast is extremely cool. That's the only thing I took away from this, because there's not much to talk about, but he's bulkier. He's got like that crazy wide body instead of like the more slim cat-like one we've seen in the rest of the Amazing Adventures. He's
got those like cool kind of like, I guess he had these, but he's got cool pointy ears and that like weird widow's peak thing that he has.
Yeah. It's fleshed out. It's a really cool interpretation. He looks like
he's getting there. He's getting closer.
Much closer to the Beast we know and love.
And he's definitely 100% blue here. There's no way somebody could tell me this is black.
Yeah, it is. The black parts are shadows, not the actual color of his fur.
I mean, even the text that says the bludgeoning beast at the top is in blue font. So
yeah,
so fuck off trying to tell me his fur is black.
And then this next one's a bit wild, Matt.
Well, I thought he was canceled. I thought in Amazing Adventures, there's no more Amazing Adventures.
There are no more Amazing Adventures with Beast, but there is.
So the story's over, and we just are left on a cliffhanger.
Almost.
What?
Well, Matt, in Hulk number 161, I hope you folks like Hulk comics, because we are going to be reading a lot of them in the Dark Era. In Hulk number 161, Beyond the Border Lurks Death, we actually get a conclusion to this story.
No way.
Release date November 28th, 1972. Cover date March 1973. Steve Englehart author, Sal Trapani inker, Artie Simek letterer. He is back.
Yeah.
G. Roussos colorist, Roy Thomas editor. Hereby tender their heartfelt congrats to happier than ever Herb Trimp for finally taking the plunge and getting married, the son of a gun.
Okay.
Those are the full credits for this issue. The Hulk is up in Canada, beating up Mounties for seemingly no reason and running off into the woods. Meanwhile, Hank McCoy and Vera are driving north when the Canadian Border Patrol refuses to let them cross because of Hulk sightings. So Hank nerve pinches Vera, rips off his Hank McCoy mask, and as the Beast goes rushing across the border with Vera slung over his shoulder. When she wakes up, she's fine with the whole nerve pinching thing and leads him to
she even says like, I'm glad you did this.
Yeah,
I'm glad you did that.
It was the right choice. So she leads him to a cabin in the woods where Cal Rankin, the Mimic, is living.
No way!
He's this piece of shit is back. He and Vera have started dating again, and now they need Hank's help to stop the Mimic from not only stealing nearby superpowers, but sucking the energy from the bodies of everyone nearby him. They worry that his range is increasing and he could end up killing the entire world.
Okay. Why? Why are they worried about that?
Because he... unclear.
Yeah, okay.
It seems like they
just
came to this conclusion one day. They were like, you know what? This is probably what's going to happen.
This is gonna end. It's gonna do it within the week. I'll kill the whole world with these power. Pat, no one when you were growing up was like, oh, he keeps getting bigger. He keeps getting bigger. He's gonna smash through the ceiling.
No.
Like when I was a little kid, my adult teeth came in, I wasn't like, oh no, I'm gonna eventually have a head made entirely of teeth. No!
That would be crazy.
Yeah, but if I had your superpower, it would be great.
Right, if you're just shooting.
Just fire them off in all directions.
A head of teeth. This strange new power of mimics has started affecting the Hulk, who is prowling the countryside, trying to find the source of this mysterious illness. As Hank and Vera are doing some kind of experiment on Cal, the Hulk literally falls through the ceiling. Hulk and Beast fight for a while until Mimic hops up and absorbs so much radiation from the Hulk that he just dies. Hulk leaves, and Hank tells Vera some fake story we don't get to hear. The end.
Wait, sorry. Sorry, you said the end.
Yes. This is...
No. You said the end. You didn't tell me about what happened with, like, Linda Donaldson and the Secret Empire and Buzz and Patsy.
Right. Well, they're back in the U.S. The X-Men have moved on to Canada.
Okay. All right. Yeah, but, we're following their story. So, like, this isn't the end.
Well, this is the Hulk, Matt. You're thinking of the Amazing Adventures. And whenever that picks back up, I'm sure we'll get more about Linda Donaldson.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think they're going to do that in October of 2025 is Amazing Adventures 18. Where they tell us the end of the story.
It's a real shame.
Yeah, Cal Rankin's in a nice cabin.
He is.
Like a really nice fucking cabin. And fucking Hank McCoy, so used to his rich buddy Warren Worthington, is like, you're taking me to a Lincoln Log set?
Where's the ski lodge?
There's no greenhouse nor sauna?
It is interesting, Matt. You pointed out that the Mimic, because the X-Men are just running reprints at this point, the Mimic issue is actually just been reprinted in X-Men, what they're calling X-Men number 77. Which is probably why he's got a cameo here, right? This is what's going on in the world of the X-Men as the general public knows it.
That's what I would assume, because like let's see if I can flip through my epic. Okay, so Mimic showed up in April. That's X-Men 75, so he must show up again in 77 because they say it. They say it in this issue.
It's a 3-story arc, isn't it? The Mimic story? Or no, it might just be 2.
Oh, okay. And then the Super Adaptoid story. Yeah, the Super Adaptoid story is reprinted in 77. That's August.
What a mess.
And this is what, November?
Pretty average Hulk issue. Same deal. There's clearly some story around this issue that seems very interesting, but this issue itself is, once again, not a great Hulk story. Pretty good X-Men story.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, there's some other Hulk stuff that we just didn't include because it's just, it's Hulk being Hulk.
So boring. The best thing the Hulk does in this issue, the most exciting thing, is calling Beast Monkey consistently.
It's so good. He calls him Monkey.
Stop it, Monkey. Because what would you call that thing? You look at him.
Yeah. You're... And why did Vera start dating the Mimic again?
I know. He's clearly...
He was such a dick to her.
So, to his credit, he seems to have matured a good bit. He is thinking of others. He makes a noble sacrifice at the end here. It seems like maybe he went through some shit learned a lesson or two and has humbled himself.
All right, fine.
I would believe
cool.
that Vera believes he's changed.
It's funny to me. So Vera and Cal were so worried about this. Where, as we see, they didn't need Hank at all. This would have taken care of itself anyway.
Yeah, it is the radiation stored inside of the Hulk that...
Which he was already sapping. He was already sapping before anyone got there.
Right. And that is ultimately what killed him. Once the Hulk was so close, he was like, oh, this is why I've been feeling like shit. I'm absorbing the Hulk's gamma radiation, which most humans shouldn't be around.
Right.
So yeah, this would have just, like, whenever his power, assuming that he's right in this
assuming
theory,
they were correct,
then this would have taken care of itself as soon as he hit the Hulk or any other radiation inspired superhero.
Yeah, exactly. What a great issue of comic books. Hey, Pat, you want to hear about one last great issue of comic books?
Wait.
Oh, do you have something else?
Yeah. So Hank has a cold as hell line here when he rips off his mask, knocks Vera unconscious, and hops by the police. He says, if you've watched The Late Show enough, you can supply my dialogue for me at this point. It's just so, like, casually, I don't give a shit about these Mounties. Go ahead and insert your own joke here. Make it clever.
He loves beating up the U.S. police and military and the Russian police and military. He is nothing but contempt.
Right.
They're beneath his contempt.
Not even worth his time.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not even going to punch these guys. All right. Well, we got one more issue to go through here. It's going to set up a lot of the stuff we're going to be talking about next issue, I think.
Yeah.
This is from October of 1973. So like a year later. Oof. It's Hulk number 172. And canst thou slay the Juggernaut?
Canst thou?
I canst. Scripted by Tony Isabella, drawn by Herb Trimpe.
Hey, congrats,
inked by
Herb.
Jack Abel. Congrats on your marriage. Lettered by A. Kupperberg, colored by R. Goldberg. Edited and plotted by Roy Thomas and military advisor General Ross. Is that?
You read it.
Is that like a bit?
Yeah, I don't think that's real. I think they're referring to General Thunderbolt Ross there.
Well, yeah, that's what I assumed, but maybe they had a general that gave them military advice and they named Thunderbolt Ross after.
Okay, you tell me what part of this issue seems like it's realistic to what the military does.
I'm going to skip over so much of this Hulk stuff, dude.
I already have in the notes for you.
A Hulk has been captured by Colonel John D. Armbruster, the new commander of Hulkbuster Base 1. A bunch of government stuff happens. Transporter array is involved. Hulk is transported out of this dimension, but somehow Juggernaut's transported to Earth. And then Hulk is transported right out. What?
There's some sort of short in the transport array that brings Juggernaut back to Earth. And I think that is by design, but then... They didn't anticipate it bringing Hulk back to Earth as well. Juggernaut and Hulk trade places,
to get rid of Hulk.
And then the Hulk comes back. Yeah, they were trying to get rid of Hulk, but they were playing with technology they don't understand. They
didn't expect Juggernaut to show up.
No, and they didn't expect the Hulk to come back either.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
It's just just some narrative conceit to get the Hulk and Juggernaut in the same place, even though Juggernaut is supposedly dead and old and in the Crimson Cosmos.
Right.
So Juggernaut explains that after being imprisoned in the Crimson Cosmos, he fought Doctor Strange, gained cosmic power, was banished to another dimension by Eternity, aged supernaturally in this dimension, fought Beast, met the consciousness of the dimension, and worked out a deal to return to Earth. Unclear why he ended up in the cell with Hulk, but they work together to break free. Some Hulk stuff happens in which we see an arm extended out a window pointed at the Hulk bouncing by and hear the following exchange. Do you want to be voice 1 or voice 2?
I'll take voice 1. Look, it's the Hulk. Can that tormented monster be connected with our mission here, sir?
I doubt it. After all, would our portable Cerebro have reacted to his presence here?
Cerebro?
Who are these people? Juggernaut and the Hulk fight. The Hulk wins by being the maddest, removes Juggernaut's helmet in the process, and then wanders off looking for some peace and quiet. Juggernaut gets up to finish the fight, but at that very moment, who should appear behind him? But Jean, Scott, and Xavier!
Oh.
They defeat him easily with blasts, both optic and mental, and reveal the reason they're here in the desert. To recruit Havoc and Lorna Dane to help them find the missing angel. What?
Wow.
We also see Peter Corbeau in this issue, who will show up a bit in the Claremont run. He's just like a scientist guy.
I think after reading through this, Matt, you should be allowed to cuss in Hulk comics.
Because there's so many angry, very adult men who are just like, you can kiss my army.
Yes, it's exactly that. They're like, what in fistin' heck?
Yeah.
Just say fuck. They're military men. Of course they're going to curse at each other.
And the Hulk would be better if he jumped around going, fuck!
Piss!
Fuck off! As he smashes stuff. Or just like stomping through a town and with every stomp, bitch, 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 bitch.
We once again get full confirmation here that apparently this is just most Hulk comics. It sounds like a lot of exciting things happen in between. I'm not sure that they actually appear in Hulk comics based on what we've read.
Yeah, it's just people referring to cool stuff that happened that the Hulk did, and then he just fights army guys and runs away and fights more army guys. Like, that's all he ever fucking and then again, obviously, then runs into some other superpowered thing and then fights them and runs off. Oh, God.
Pretty bizarre.
I hate the Hulk. I hate it. I don't enjoy this.
I don't hate the Hulk will go through a lot. He is just in his bad era right now.
His terrible twos.
That's right.
I mean, Peter David will eventually. Oh, also, we should say this is our first episode we've recorded since the death of Peter David. Rest in peace.
Oh yeah,
Peter David was one of my favorite comic book writers. One of my favorite like comic book writers, right? And he wrote X Factor for a really long time, and it was just a fucking incredible series. So rest in peace, Peter David. But also, so Peter David writes a really long Hulk arc, like 200 issues or something wild.
Yeah, it's
like that.
years. It's like 5 years. More than
that I really want to read at some point. 12 years. He wrote a 12-year run.
12 years. My goodness.
I know.
We're getting old.
Wait, how does that?
I
don't know if there's a break in between, but I think it's 331 to 467.
Oh my goodness.
Wild.
How do you feel, Matt? We read through all of the X-Men content we could from 1972. The majority of all of this happens in 1972.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a team up with Spider-Man that we'll get to next episode that I think also happened in the middle here. But yeah, I don't know. It feels weird. I like the Beast story a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I liked the characterization of Havoc and Lorna Dane, but I don't. Yeah, if this is what they're doing, like if what we see at basically like the end of this Hulk issue is what we are looking forward to for the next, what is it at this point? It's going to be 3 years.
Next 3 years, but really the foreseeable future if you're an X-Men fan at the time.
Right, you wouldn't know. We would have no idea, even if somehow it leaked early. Oh, they are going to bring back the X-Men. They're just working on it. You wouldn't know that what was coming was going to be one of the greatest runs in comic book history.
Yeah. This is
right. You would be reading these things and thinking, oh, it's just going to be like this stuff.
Yeah. What has become of my X-Men?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it seems like regardless of what the actual plan was, Beast was somebody that they really wanted to start centering some things around because
he joins the
He
Avengers.
joins the Avengers. They put a lot of young talent on him.
Yeah.
They're really they had hope for this Amazing Adventures series spinning off into something big.
Now, when do so I think the Champions form in 1975. But when do Angel and Iceman join the Defenders? It looks like it's not till 1983. So yeah, even Angel and Iceman, who again, so like they try to do some independent stuff with Angel and Iceman later on in Marvel Comics. It's not yet. It's just Beast.
Yeah. He's probably the solo cover that sold the most issues.
So yeah, how are and I do want to talk about that Amazing Adventure series, but just like overall, how do you feel?
I think I'm with you that like if I were an X-Men fan at the time, I would be thrilled that Beast got his own miniseries. I would be thrilled that the X-Men pop up in these other comics that I happen to be reading, but I would be pretty sad that this is what's happening to the X-Men. Like it's just they're a footnote in Marvel history now. The Beast saga itself, though, you really feel the emotional stakes of everything he's going to. I think that in a vacuum is just a really good and engaging story. You really feel his shame, his rage when he feels like his life is spinning out of control, and even the joy he feels from seeing friends. Like just between the art and the way that it's written, it feels so emotionally impactful. Like you're there for the ride, which I was impressed with. I really enjoyed reading those amazing adventures issues.
Well, what I like about it is it's like it's really documenting Beast's transformation, and it's like a death and rebirth sort of thing. So like each issue seems to tackle a different theme, right? In 11, it is a man full of hubris that leads to him being, devolved, turned into this monster, turned into this something less than human, and leads to issue 12, where he gives into despair, right? He's like, fuck this, fuck my life, I fucked up, I can't cure myself, and what is this what it's going to lead to? I'm getting hunted by superheroes, and he kills, well, he thinks he kills Iron Man. So he's like devolved. He's like, fine, I'm just a monster. That's all I am. And then issue 13, now he's lost. He thinks he's a monster. So like not having any grasp on who he is any longer, he's taken advantage of. This is his
rock bottom.
This is his like Pinocchio being taken advantage of by
the circus guy.
Yeah, this is the Pinocchio moment, or the Oliver and like the Fagan, the gang of thieves.
Tom Fagan?
Yeah, Tom Fagan from the book Oliver Twist?
Yeah, Tom Fagan from the Marvel Comics and also Oliver Twist.
That's what he's going, like running into at that point. Like, oh, he's just lost and helpless, and somebody takes advantage of him. But that leads to when he finally does something that he feels is evil, stealing a diamond from a rich person. I don't know if that's like the most evil thing you could do, but whatever. It snaps him back, and he's like, wait, this isn't me. And he begins to regain his memory. He begins to regain his humanity. Then 14, he starts to reconcile the fact that being a beast doesn't make him any less human. Right?
Yeah.
So in 14, like he loses his powers and he starts to regain his humanity because, again, he's arguing with Quasimodo about what makes a person human, and it's his own humanity that wins him the day. So now he realizes he is human, and it is in that he starts remarking offhand how many people have referred to him as human. And then in 15, so now he's pulled himself out of this despair of, oh, I'm just a beast, and oh, I'm just a monster, and he's found his morality again. But this is where he starts to learn he can trust humanity again. He can count on both friends, like he runs into Angel, right? And he reveals himself to Angel, and Angel's cool with it, right? And he collapses on Patsy Walker's couch, and she helps him. Yeah, and so he sees that friends and strangers will, even though they don't just see him as a beast, they see him as a human. And so this is also when he starts to get comfortable with his new powers. And a parrot says he reverts to his old speech patterns, but I don't think Englehart knows the big words that some of the other writers, like Mike Friedrich and Roy Thomas and stuff, knew. But then 16 is just a real superhero story, right? It's just him versus Juggernaut.
Yeah. And it's
just now we see Beast, he's come out of the other side of this trial, and now he's just a superhero. He's a superhero called the Beast, who's blue and furry. He's back to old Hank again. And I mean, also, like, he also sees like the what could have happened the other direction had he gone the other direction. He sees what happened to Juggernaut when Juggernaut's powers are fueled by hate and anger that turns him an old man.
Yeah. That's a bit on the nose, that metaphor, but
and all of it is a little bit, right? Like I think all of this was very intentional. I have a feeling that Englehart sat down and was like, and first he, like sat down and wrote these out as chapters.
Yeah.
As like what Hank has to learn. But I still think it's effective nonetheless. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Matt. This was this run was a lot better than I expected it to be. I thought it would be a little more tedious, a little hackier, but it really does have like an artistic spin to it.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of the fucking dumps here, Pat, and talk. And do you have a Pat Steals and Deals for us,
Matt? I absolutely have a Steals and Deals for us.
Yes.
Now, there's actually
the only thing that can lift me out of the Dark Ages doldrums.
Now, there's actually no price listed here, so we're just going to assume that this is some sort of deal. It's certainly a steal. Home study course in comic books. Now you can study comic books seriously for high school credit or for academic challenge. New textbook, The Comic Book in America by Michael Uslan, Indiana University instructor. For details, write Dr. William Driscoll, Continuing Education, Owen Hall, Bloomington, Indiana, 47401.
Okay, all right. Well, all right, hold on.
Yeah.
Is this about how to write comic books, draw comic books? Is this about the mythology of comic? Is this a literature course? What?
So you might recognize the name Michael Uslan for a few different things. Number one, he famously in the 70s created a college course shortly after this odd for credit around comic books as an academic subject. So it deals with the mythology parallels. It deals with the actual literature side of it. He is just teaching like a general course on comic books and their literary value.
Like as a part of media studies? I'm still not 100%.
I believe you went to college, man. I did not. So you would know better than me.
Only very recently. I still don't understand what I was doing.
He actually gained notoriety for this class by calling the local news and pretending to be like a citizen filing a complaint, just saying like, this is ridiculous that they're teaching a course on comic books. So the news picked it up. It went national, and
that's a smart dude. I like
good.
This guy.
He also wrote some comics. His credits include The Shadow when it was under DC. DC did a Beowulf adaptation in like 1975, I think. And then he also had a couple of Batman comics to his credit. Because he worked with DC, once they got into the movie business, he was a low-level producer on the Swamp Thing movie. From there...
Oh, no. That movie is so... Have you seen that movie?
Not since I was like a child.
It is wild. It is we'll talk about it sometime.
That's fair, because he makes a big leap. From there, he collaborates with producer Benjamin Melniker to purchase the film rights to Batman. This is in 1979, and he has been credited as a producer, responsible for licensing the rights to every feature-length Batman project since 1979.
Wild.
Every Batman movie you can think of post the like Batman 66 romp that they made.
Yeah.
Including, so it wouldn't be Batman the Animated Series, right? That's not feature length, that's a series. But when they made
Right.
a movie spin-off, the Mask of the Phantasm, or there's a Harley Quinn one, he's credited on that. All that the DC universe went
Wow.
through like an animated movie renaissance in
Mhm.
the aughts and teens. He is credited on every single one of those that Batman appears in. He is the Batman guy to go through if you want to make a Batman movie.
Okay. So, your steal and deal is I can take a course with this guy for high school credit.
Yeah, at this point it was for high school credit. Shortly after this, he actually introduced it for college credit. Also, I don't know how high schools worked back in the 70s, but there weren't many opportunities for me to go outside of school and earn credit towards graduation. Fascinating stuff,
Okay.
though, right? This guy, at this point, is like in his early 20s. He's just a big comic book fan and takes out this ad that eventually leads to him, because of his fanaticism, to being responsible for every Batman movie we've had. What a steal.
And a deal. I'm doing it. You sold me on this one.
There we go.
Pat steals and deals, everybody. Thanks, Pat. Listen, thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to the episode.
Listen. Thank you for listening.
These are going to be weird ones. The next few will be weird, like this one, because it does really feel like we're groping around in the dark, just like looking for X-Men, looking for X-Men in the piles of refuse by our feet.
Even grosser.
And I appreciate you guys being here. I mean, this is an important part of Marvel history, like, right? This is where Beast turned into the Beast that we know, and this is, I mean,
it's weird. Yeah. We had to pull back the curtain a little bit. We had to do some last minute changes, and we probably will continue to through the dark era, because this is confusing and we should all be a little scared. But it's not going to stop us from the credits that we go through every week. Big thank you to Krills Wilson for the opening theme. Big thanks to Julia Selly for who I saw yesterday, by the way. She's doing well.
Oh, wow.
If listeners are interested, she's doing just fine. But big thanks to
reach out to her and say, hey,
thanks.
I'm glad to hear you're doing great.
Please don't
say thanks. Yeah.
You email us if you have a message for Julia, please. Mutantmenace at mutantmenacepod@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at mutantmenacepod.
You can either write us, hey Pat, tell Matt, or hey Pat, tell Julia.
Yeah. And we'll get it to her. And I think there's nothing left to do, Matt, except for close the show out the way we close it out every week.
Yeah, even though we're in the Dark Ages, we're just going to use the exact same goodbye we've always used.
Yeah. Listen to me, and this still stands. I can't fly if you hold my wings.
And listen up. Wonderful, Mr. Wizard, but science says you're wrong if you think soap is mightier than the fist.